Hey, good morning, my friends. This is MLive Chief Meteorologist Mark Torregrossa. My countdown's a little glitchy, so let me know if I'm a little glitchy because I really can't monitor it. Good morning, Ed. Wow, I don't know if I even want to try your name. Fryskak? Good morning to you. And Dawn Douglas, good morning. Thank you for sharing. And Don Clark from R&R Farms in Fairgrove. Everything sounded okay to you? It kind of looks okay now. And let's get into it. Hey, I know you want the weather. We're going to do that first. But I'm also going to share with you the most common nightmare from me and all of my friends that have been in television and even radio and even now online in the media. We all have the same nightmare theme, and I had it again last night. I have it about every 6 months, and it's a bugger of a nightmare. So I'll give that to you. Hey, good morning, Marcus. All right, everything sounds good, says Wendy Curtis. It's a go. Let's get into it. Well, this morning, not as cold as it has been. We're already up to 30 in Grand Rapids, 31 in Lansing. Those are the warmest temperatures in the state. So you're going to make it to freezing very quickly here by late morning in some of those regions. Hey, Bloomington, Illinois, checking in. And someone's asking about what's the weather like for the rest of January. We're going to kind of look at that here now. So warming up a little bit today, and we will crack the freezing mark, it looks like. But then here comes the Arctic front. And again, I do have to apologize. I am a big weather nerd, and I like a lot of squiggly lines on data. And guess what? You're just going to have to I'm going to have to apologize to, but you're just going to have to come along and get used to looking at stuff. So when you look at one of these complex model weather maps, the first thing you got to do is you got to look through all the lines and find where the states are. And usually Florida and Texas stick out, and then you can get your eyes up, and then the Great Lakes, and then Michigan sticks out, and California, and you know where you're at. Now we're going to be looking at the pressure lines, which won't mean a whole lot to you, means a lot to me. And then we're going to be looking at the temperatures aloft, which turn into cold or warm here at the ground. And we'll also be looking at the amounts of precip. So that's what's on this map here. It's the European model. All right, so pick out your Florida, your Texas. I see Louisiana and Mississippi and Alabama and Arkansas real clearly, and then you work your way northward, and there you see Michigan. So what we're into today is we're into a little bit of a warm sector of a storm system. Rose Brown, will we ever see a snowstorm? Yes, we will. Yes, we will. Um, so by tomorrow, the cold front moves through, and then you see all the blue lines moving south. That's the next batch of Arctic air, and you also see the lake effect snow. We'll look a little bit closer at it here. The cold, by the way, is making it down into the deep southeast, into Alabama, into Georgia, into the Carolinas, and that's setting up an area where you saw they had historic snowstorm the other day, and they may be in the offing for another one in there. So if you're driving southeast, you got to really keep pay attention to the weather with me. Now we're into Saturday of this weekend, and here comes a big nor'easter snowstorm again, and behind it another Arctic front for us, another blast of lake effect snow. And will we ever have a snowstorm? Well, I don't know that I would call this a really full-fledged snowstorm, but our first Alberta Clipper, full-fledged Alberta Clipper, see that right there? That's Monday into very early Tuesday morning. And this model has been very consistent with it, although speeding it up a touch today. And we'll look again at that a little bit closer. Hey, good morning, Kathy Reddington from Cadillac. And we're out 10 days now, and so the cold is not letting up. All right, here's a little bit closer, a little bit easier of a look for you. Yeah, I go easy on you sometimes. This is just the pressure pattern and the types of precipitation. So you know how to interpret that. And stick around. Please hit the share button too. I appreciate that greatly. I want to see 1,000 people on here on a sunny day in the winter. That would be my goal by the end of January, 1,000 people. And only really you can help me do that because of the share. Remember the old commercial? I want to say it was E.F. Hutton. you tell two friends, and they tell two friends, and they tell two friends, and they showed it on the TV screen, and the squares kept building. That's what's going on. All right, I'll shut up and get back to the weather now. I'm sorry. I know that's what you're here for. Okay, so tonight, snow comes across the UP, and then tomorrow the cold front comes through, rather dry, not a whole lot of fanfare. Good morning, Leslie Weiss, Adrian. Um, and then the lake effect snow, and it's a north wind, northwest, so it stays out of Grand Rapids mostly. It comes down the shoreline and into the Kalkaska area, and of course the UP stays out of the southeast. And then here is another cold front on Saturday night, Sunday, again out of the north, moisture starved, and then it sets off the lake effect once again. But we'll look at our little Alberta Clipper. So this is Monday morning, Monday afternoon, Monday evening, Monday overnight, Tuesday morning. So it's a Monday afternoon into Monday night type snow. You can see it there, about a 12-hour snow, and then moves on to the east. One thing we will watch for, and this can get sneaky, and I gotta just say once in a while, you're lucky you have me. You're lucky you have a lot of great meteorologists actually in the state of Michigan that have a lot of experience with how our weather pattern is different than just across the pond in Wisconsin. What can happen with this in a cold pattern is what I call a cold snowstorm. Usually you don't get lake enhancement in a snowstorm because it warms up, and that temperature difference between the air and the lake is kind of killed off during the storm system. But if you're in a cold pattern with an Alberta Clipper, you can get what I call a lake enhanced or a cold snowstorm. And in this kind of case, with a northeast or east wind, we can get some enhancement off of Lake Huron with that storm system. But we'll worry about that a little bit later. How much? On our lake effect coming up Wednesday and Thursday, you're probably looking at about 3 to 6 inches from Kalkaska, Mansalona, down through Leelanau County, Benzie, down through Ludington, down through Muskegon. Muskegon, it appears as though you're ending your snow drought. Hollymack, not seeing anything. Yes, it is just you, I think, because everybody would be talking about it. So maybe hit refresh or go back into it. Okay. Now we get another burst of lake effect on the weekend. Same areas continues to pile up, staying out of Grand Rapids with the heavy stuff, staying out of Kalamazoo with the heavy stuff, and then obviously Ann Arbor, Detroit, Flint, Saginaw Bay City. We just read about it on MLive that they're getting pummeled on the west side of the state. Then here comes our Alberta Clipper. This one puts 2-3 inches of snow. That's a pretty good bet on an Alberta Clipper like this. But it's meaty, but it also blows around, and there can be double that if there's a lake enhancement. So we'll call it a 2 to 4 incher, but you can get 5 or 6, but they drift, so you don't really know, and it's kind of hard to measure. All right, now let's end that with the temperatures, and then remember, stick with me, hit share. I'm going to share with you the most common nightmare by TV broadcasters, radio broadcasters, and I think also to some extent now what we call us digital media. So here are the temperatures for today. We'll make it into the mid to upper 30s in a lot of places. Chip off any ice on the sidewalk this evening. Tomorrow, still have a chance to chip that snow and ice off of a spot where you could slide on your keister in the morning in the southeast, but then the cold hits, and by Thursday we're back to, we can handle it. Highs only in the teens, single digits north, and Friday teens and 20s, and Saturday maybe inching back to the mid to upper 20s, and then Sunday in comes the next Arctic front, and Monday you can see that clear setup of a storm system type temperature profile where it's south it warms up and north it stays cold. And we'll just go out 10 days, another blast of Arctic air next week. So 10 days, guess what? We have what we should have at this time of the year. We have winter. Hey, remember to join the Facebook group called Michigan Weather, and please remember to share. And now, the biggest, most common nightmare for TV broadcasters, radio broadcasters, and again, I suspect even now digital media. So it is that if you're out of television, it's a nightmare that you're back in television, and not the television was bad, but it always has a time component. So my nightmare last night was that I went back into TV. I was filling in. I was filling in on some weird station in Bay City. It wasn't one of the actual three stations that were on it, that we have, and they didn't train me, and the meteorologist was gone that I was filling in for, and I'm not ready. And the thing about TV is, when it hits 6 o'clock at night, the news always starts. And when it hits about 6:10, 6:12, the weather always starts. You always have to be at that time. So many of my friends that have gone on to other career paths, they'll say about every 6 months, they have this same nightmare. Oh my gosh, I'm producing a newscast and I'm not ready. Oh my gosh, I'm at a news station and they didn't teach me properly. And here comes the newscast and I'm an anchor and I'm not ready. It's the worst nightmare ever. And then you wake up and you go like, wow. So time. And there you have it. If you know anybody that's been in television or radio, ask them if they have this nightmare, and they'll say, yeah, I had that just in the last 6 months. Most everybody does. All right, thanks for joining me. Hey, thanks for listening to my nightmares from last night. Weather doesn't really look like too much of a nightmare. We'll get through it. It's pretty harsh winter, but it's not anything super, super notable just yet. And will we have a snowstorm? Yes, we will. And the power is there, as you've noticed, for a biggie if it sets up just right. Might happen when we start to get out of the deep cold and come into a little bit warmer weather. Storm track shifts a little north, and that's typically sometime in late February or early March. All right, thanks for joining me on the MLive Morning Weather Update. I'm MLive Chief Meteorologist Mark Torregrossa. Please hit the share button all the time. Remember that. Even afterwards, I post this online. You can hit the share button, and that helps build the notifications to Facebook friends that I'm on live. And at some point, we're going to have a real storm, and it's going to be important for me to keep you updated. Take care.